All right, everybody. Going to give everybody time to rejoin the chat. Here we go. Make it even higher. It's already too high from the video. All right. Back on. I'll be kidding. Fucking me. All right. Could someone join the live and give me an idea if you can hear me? Am I audible? Okay. If you are in the live, comment in the live and let me know if you can hear me. Could someone comment on in the live and let me know if you can hear me, okay? Am I audible? I'll give everybody a little more time to get in. I'm going to turn my phone up a little bit. Okay. Okay, great. All right, guys, I apologize for the delay. I'm never late with my sipping paints, but everything that could break down right before hand broke down. So I sincerely apologize, but welcome to our virtual sip and paint Gwen's Girls Designs. You should have already had a chance to take a look at this flyer. Make sure that you've gone ahead and ordered your drinks and your food. We will have scheduled breaks. So, no fear. You won't have to paint all the way through, and you will get a chance to enjoy your food and drinks. Okay? So, we're going to go over the rules really quickly and jump right in. All right? So, first rule, have fun. Do not take this too seriously. I cannot tell you how many people are super nervous at the beginning of a sip and paint because they're not super artistic, but then their pictures end up turning out exactly the way they want it to. So that's the first rule, have fun. The second rule, and this also just as important, do not jump ahead of instruction. The only reason we say that is because when you are painting with us, you can follow along with our techniques. But if you jump ahead of us, your picture may not turn out the same way that ours is because you jumped ahead of the instruction. So please stay with the instruction. We paint in a certain method, in a certain order, so that your painting will turn out a specific way. Okay. Now you should have a cup filled with water. I have a coffee cup, but you probably have like a paper cup. It's very important that between your colors, so say for example, if I use gold here, black here, blue here, red there, in between those colors, you want to make sure you're dipping your brush in the water. I have a washcloth, but you guys have paper towels. But what you want to do is in between colors, you want to wipe your brush onto your paper towel until that color goes away. It's also important for drying up unnecessary water. You don't want a watery paintbrush on your canvas. So two things, make sure you're drying it as well as wiping it until you see that color go away before switching colors. Also, you'll notice you have 3 different size brushes. Here you go. 3 different size brushes. I will alternate based on the area of the painting that I'm in. So just make sure you're staying alert to when I say, hey, switch your paintbrush to your smaller, your medium, or your larger brush. Also, you want to pay attention to the amount of paint that you're using. On canvases, it's not like painting when you're painting around the house. Canvases don't require a ton of paint. So especially in our smaller areas, you'll hear me say use a small amount of paint in say area XYZ. The reason is you don't need a ton of paint anyway. In larger areas like the hair area and the background, you can use what I probably call moderate. So I say moderate paint or small amount of paint. That's what I mean. All right. And if you forget how this is supposed to look, you have a picture here on the back. I added some little accents that we'll talk about. So let's get started. So the first thing we're going to do is paint our background. I wanted to show you guys, I'm kind of conflicted about the background. I've used different colors. So here's what it looks like. Scoot this back. Here's what it looks like when you do a black background. I particularly like it. It's totally up to you. This gold here is almost an exact match to the New Orleans Saints, and it's a metallic color. So when you're painting, it looks dull, but if you notice when I hold it against the light, it's super, super shiny. So for the sipping paint, I think I'm going to go with this gold from my background, but feel free to do the black. But I just want to let you guys know, see the difference. I think I'm going to go with the gold from my background. So let's get started. We're all artists, so we can improvise. So you want to take your largest brush and whatever color you want to use for your background, go ahead and start there. I'm going to use my gold. And again, this looks super matte, but when it dries up against the light, it's super pretty. So the first thing we're going to do, let's turn this upside down and get our bottom portion first. So right now, you're getting this part of your canvas. All right, and you're just flipping this up down so you can reach it. And you're doing this with your larger brush. Okay. It's going to take a ton of time. And if I didn't say this, I meant to say this. If you accidentally paint over something or with the wrong color, don't be alarmed. Just let it dry. Anything that you make a mistake on, quote unquote, if you let it dry, you can paint over it. You'll probably see me make a mistake and I'll be able to show you how easy it is to correct a mistake. All right. Also, if you happen to get paint on your fingers at any time, it's acrylic paint. Don't worry. It washes right off. I even dip my fingers in the water sometime if it's like an excessive amount and just dry it off on the paper. So don't want you to panic if you get paint on your fingers or even on your clothes. It's acrylic and it can come off. Okay. So we are going to continue with our background. Now we're going to do our left, right, and top. You'll notice that this gold metallic paint, it goes on kind of almost sheer. You'll see better when I paint on the front. But don't worry about that. It actually dries very solid. And on the front, we're actually going to do 2 coats. So don't, if you're using the gold, don't be thrown off that it's a little kind of sheer and it's a little thin. It's supposed to be like that because it's a metallic color and it just dries very, very nicely. So don't worry about that at all. Again, if you get a little bit of this color in your hair, do not panic. When it dries and you paint it another color, it's going to paint right over it. So we're going to just get our sides. I'm going to get my top. Also, if you have questions, put those in the chat also. I'm going to get my other side over here. And with your paint, you want to just do long strokes. That may sound sexual, but y'all, I'm just a down to earth person, so I'm going to be cracking jokes and talking. I do paint as a means of therapy. Back when the pandemic started, I already wanted to do like I wanted to do like a mobile sip and paint already. But then the pandemic happened, and I was like, oh, you have to be at home and, find ways to enjoy yourself. So I find painting extremely therapeutic, and I think you will too. That's why I say don't take it too seriously. But you do want to kind of do long strokes when you're painting because it saves you time and it kind of looks good too. Again, this looks kind of sheer when you're putting on your first initial coat, but it looks super good when it all dries. All right, so again, you're using your bigger brush, okay? So something I want you guys to be aware of. So these top 2 corners, we're not gonna do now. We're gonna wait till we go down a brush size. So kind of start outside of your afro a little bit and just kind of start doing long lines over here, whatever your background color is. You can go up on one side to get all the paint and down on the other. It's a nice up and down. And you see how I kind of like just go back and smooth it out? A lot of this is just going to be kind of painting and then smoothing. And it looks weird while it's wet, but it looks super good when it dries. Okay. Right? And these lines, again, don't have to be super perfect. I just find that you get a lot of efficiency when you use up and down strokes like this. Now you notice I'm getting close to my afro, but not all the way. When we go down to a smaller brush, then we'll get close to our afro. Right now, we're just doing the larger portion of the canvas, okay? So I'm taking my larger brush. I'm getting close to, but not all the way on my image. See how I'm doing that? Close to, but not touching my image. Because we have a smaller brush for that. Y'all probably hear my grandson, Princeton, in the back singing and doing his thing. But hey, I'm gonna let him have fun too. All right, again, I'm flipping my brush so that I'm getting both sides of my paintbrush and the paint that's on there. Okay. Right. With this paint, the major thing you want to do is just covering the white spots. It's gonna look sheer when you do your first coat, but when you blend it later, it's gonna kind of blend in a little bit better. Over here on the side, I'm kind of doing like a left to right. Instead of an up and down stroke, I'm doing kind of a left to right. So I'm still getting close to the image, but I'm not trying to get in the nooks and crannies. So like here, These nooks and crannies, I'm not going to try to get in there with my big brush. I'm just getting close to it. So you can do a combination of left to right and up and down like you see me doing here. But you want to leave space when we get our smaller brush. Same thing for over here. I'm getting close, but I'm not getting in that nook because it's just too small. Okay. I'm doing more of a left to right over here on this side. Don't forget you have paint on both sides of your brush. So you don't have to keep dipping if you haven't painted from both sides. So just remember, don't forget you have paint on both sides. And I'm kind of just smoothing this out like so. All right. To make sure when you're not using your brushes that they're sitting in the water like so. If you're left-handed, you want to probably try to keep your brush and your paint on the left. If you're right-handed, of course, you may want to keep it on the right. All right. So now I'm going to mosey down to my smallest brush. I think this is the small brush I want. I may switch it out later. All right, but for now, this is my smallest brush. Go to your smallest brush. And let's go up here in this corner. And right where you have, so let me explain. The reason why I drew this and then went over it with a Sharpie is because I find that, especially if you're like, just an amateur painter, you don't paint a lot, it's super good to have these lines for multiple reasons. They remind you not to accidentally paint over into the next image. And then also when you're painting within the lines, it gives you kind of like an outline to stay in, okay? So over here at this top corner, you're just gonna brush. You can even follow the outside of that line. You don't want to try to, when you're painting, not just this area, but any of the areas, you don't want to try to trace what I've done. You always want to just use these as a guide to either paint on the outside of them or the inside. Because once you start trying to trace them, then you're upping yourself to an artist that draws. Right now, you're not trying to draw, you're just trying to paint. Not trying to, you are painting. All right. So use your little small brush up there, outside of your squiggly lines and your Afro pick here. So you're just using that so you know where to paint outside of, right? We're not tracing the black line, we're using it as a guide. Using it as a guide. Right? I all of a sudden get left-handed when I'm painting sometimes, especially on my left side. But this is you just painting and smoothing it out. Not a ton of paint necessary because these are really small areas that you're getting to. All right, so make sure you still have your small brush and just get on the outside of that afro. Outside of the afro. And you know where we had those little gaps? What you do is you do the outside and then kind of brush the paint outward so it kind of blends. So if you notice, I went on the outside of it with my small brush. Right? Then I start brushing outward so that it mixes with what's already there. Okay? So see how we went from a little white gap in between our big and small brush paint to really no gap at all. And then also at the end, when we just like everything's dried a bit, we come back and blend it. It's going to look even more blended. You won't even be able to tell that you kind of painted it in two parts. Okay. Also, if you feel that you need a little more comfort, feel free to lay your canvas flat. You just want to make sure that maybe your table isn't wet. But sometimes even I may just take it down and like lay it flat on some parts. So feel free to do that. So you really want to take your time. It was more fluid in the bigger parts, but when you start getting to, more detailed areas, it's okay to slow down. And what I'm doing is I'm just kind of blending my small strokes back into where I had my larger ones. So now I'm taking my smaller brush and I'm going around my saint sign where we had our white space. And once I do that, I'm spreading that paint outward so it blends in with what is already there. Okay. Again, if you happen to paint over one of these black lines, don't panic. It's going to dry and you can do it over. So I'm going to get into this little cranny here and all these other little white spots that are left. And if you hold your brush like you would a color pencil, think of it that you're coloring. That makes it much more comfortable when you're holding your brush. Think of it like you're holding a pen or a color pencil, and that's kind of the posture you want to have with your paintbrush. Some people feel comfortable kind of holding it. I don't have a preference, whatever makes you comfortable, but that's a good way to get paint on your hands. So I try not to do that. When you get down here at the bottom, you see how I went from holding my brush like this to like this? That's a really good way to make sure you're getting the bottom portion of your canvas painted. So I'm holding it upside down and painting from the bottom up to get that bottom portion. That way I still get my bottom portion and I'm not holding my hand all weird or having to touch my canvas. So feel free when you're at the bottom, turn your paintbrush upside down. I'm doing the same thing here. Holding my brush upside down and getting that little close spot that I did not get with my big brush. Okay. Boom, 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 and boom. Awesome. All right, so I'm going to get into this other cranny here. A lot of times I use my pinky as a kickstand. Right now I'm kind of using it as a kickstand, kind of resting it here on my easel. We'll do that a lot more in other spaces, but it's a good little technique I've picked up also. You can kind of use it as a kickstand to kind of rest on. Again, but you don't want to you want to limit how much you have to actually touch the actual canvas. So I always come up with like innovative ways to have a good posture while I'm painting. So I'm going to use my small brush to go around this other white area. Okay. So see how I kind of slightly painted over the black line here? No worries. That's not going to matter at all. So we're getting your nook and crannies. And you can do like those full strokes to where it goes from here all the way to the end of your canvas. Kind of take care of any excess paint. Doing the same thing here. I'm just spreading that paint out and spreading it around. Okay. I'm going to get in this little nook and cranny between her shoulder and her hair. Okay. I'm going in and out. There was a little dot there. You don't have to do that. I was just being extra, but so I'm taking my strokes from here all the way out. See, I'm filling it in and taking those fill-ins all the way to the end of the canvas. See if I can angle myself a little bit differently. Maybe, yeah, angle myself a little bit differently. All right. So again, I'm kind of just spreading out my paint here. And it may look a little two-tone in certain spots, but again, later we'll blend it all together. It's going to look great. All right. So that is our background. Okay. All right. So next, we're going to move to our hair. You have plenty of colors there. You can choose whatever color you want for your hair. You want to use your medium brush. So this is my large brush. I'm using my, well, actually, let's use our large brush. We're going to use our large brush for the bigger portion, and then we're going to go down a size when we get closer to the body. So it's okay to use your big brush here. And you want to be mindful of your Afro pick. You want to make sure you're coloring the hair and not over your Afro pick. Okay. So I'm going to do black hair, and we're going to do like we did before. We're going to get close to our image. In this case, it's going to be her face and her hand and her earring. We're going to get close, but we're not going to get all the way on it. We're going to go down the brush when we get closer, okay? So I'm actually going to start like out here. I put way too much paint on my brush, but I will just spread that out. Okay. For right now, we're just doing straight strokes. Later, we can come by and come back, and add a little curl definition with some like little squiggly lines and stuff. We'll do that later. But right now, I'm just doing some up and down strokes. Again, I'm going to create a barrier almost. I think I might need to physically do it. So we're going to go here. Pretty much paint outside of there. I'm going to make sure we're painting close to here, but not in there. Okay. So I almost just made like an invisible barrier for you. So that, not even get that close. We're going to stay away from the body and use that area for a smaller brush. So if you see, you can do the same thing. You kind of make like a little veil here to remind yourself, and you kind of like away from the paint. You can kind of almost do that. Okay. So let's do that. Let's go outside of our little outline we made, and then we'll go down the sides and brush. Stay on the outside of our little veil, so we have a little more freedom with our brush strokes, and we won't have to be so worried about going over any lines. Like I said, if you find yourself, you'll know you're using too much paint if your canvas is like super shiny. So just take that opportunity to kind of spread the paint around. I'm going to mute this for just a second. Okay. All right. All right. Are you guys still connected? Yes. Can you see if that barcode is done? It may not be done. And over here on this side, it's an afro, so you can just kind of be creative. You don't have to be worried about staying perfectly in the lines. If you kind of do like a dabbing motion like this, you will easily stay within those lines. And it's a lot less stressful, hand movement. Kind of blend it all in. Don't forget the back of your brush. There we go. And we are coming up on a break. You guys will have a break in just a second. So if you have food that's coming or you just want to stretch your legs, use the bathroom, we do have a break that's coming up. All right. So we have and it's okay if I'm a little bit ahead of you. If you or you just kind of getting here late, that's fine. The major thing is when we transition to a new spot that you keep your ears open for the technique for that spot. So don't feel too bad if you're not like on the same spot as everybody, if you're behind. But the major thing is you don't want to jump ahead, right? She don't have no teeth like that. All right, so I'm going to scale down to my smallest. Yeah, I'm gonna scale down to my smallest brush. So let's go ahead and transition to our smallest brush. I'm not a fan of my small brush. I feel like I should get a different one. I'm gonna keep this one. All right, first things first, let's go ahead and do our little lines within our afro. These don't have to be super straight, so don't worry about that. Like mine are crooked, as you can see. We're gonna come back and fill in this afro later. And it doesn't really matter if these lines are super straight. Now, I'm gonna use my pinky as a kickstand in this situation. You'll see me do that, but I'm doing that on a dry area. So I kind of use my pinky as a kickstand and kind of getting in here. All right. So once you do it once, you can just always come back if you want to kind of straighten your lines up a little bit. Again, this is not meant to be perfectly straight line. Okay. All right. Then I'm gonna use my small paint, my small brush to fill in any other areas. It's my granddaughter, Amira. She wanted to get in on the fun. Y'all might hear her in the background. Her and my grandson. They're having a good time. All right. All right, so we're going to use our, remember we went down to our small brush. We're going to go on the outside of our afro pick now. Okay? So you're literally on the outside line. Remember, don't try to trace the line that I have for you. Use that as a guide to paint outside of. Okay? So I'm just using my little small brush to fill in the gap. Like so. And kind of spread it out like we talked about before. In terms of just not having the paint spread out. All right, and then I'm on the outside line of my the other side of our afro pick. You're gonna have to grab him. He mad. He wanna come paint too. We can paint next time, boo. All right. So I'm gonna smooth that out if it's not already smoothed out. All right. And then we're gonna this next step, I want everyone to like, even if you're on a different spot, just make sure you kind of pause for a second. Because whenever we get close to the body image, I just want to make sure that we're all like super aware of where we are on the painting. Okay. So with this step, we're going to actually follow the outside of the line around the face. So we're not tracing that line. We're literally painting on the outside of that line. We're not going to try to trace it because we're not drawing the picture. We're painting it. Okay. So we're not spreading it out like before. We're literally making a line around this. Because this is going to be our barrier for the remainder of time. So in here, you want to kind of really slow down. You see this little area between her earring and her neck? Just get in between there really slowly. Really slowly. You're going to have the peak of your saint symbol there. It's already drawn for you, so no worries there. Okay. And you just want to slowly go around this area. Right now, I'm kind of using my pinky here to rest. This is dry, so that's fine. But I'm making a outline around everything that involves the face right now. So here we go. And this is where you want to take your time. Other parts of the painting, you don't have to take your time as much, but you want to take your time here. Notice we still have white spots. We're not worried about those now. We're literally only worried about making a barrier around this hand and face and shoulder. Okay. So now we're kind of making a barrier around the shoulder outside of the line that's drawn. Okay. So I literally just took my brush and went just like this, outside of the line that already was made. Okay. Once you have that, we're going to do like we've done before. We're going to paint in our white section that's still white. And then that gives you freedom to kind of do that without worrying about, oh my gosh, I'm going to paint over the earring by mistake, you know? We're going to get the inside of the earring, which is the hair, later in just a moment. But for now, we're literally just filling in our white space with our small brush. It looks segmented now, but when it dries, it looks cohesive. And anything that doesn't, we can blend later. Okay. I'm going to take a small brush. I need to slow down, take my own advice, and kind of spread it out. Kind of spread this out. The main thing is you don't want to have just a bunch of paint sitting. Okay. So I'm taking that paint and I'm spreading it out. Looks weird because this is wet and this is dry, but when it dries, it all looks the same. All right. And one more step before we take our first break. We're going to get the inside of that earring because that's still her hair, right? So this is another part where you want to just kind of slow down. You can even make you another barrier if you want. Put a little line outside of the line on her face. Put a line on the inside of the earring. Like a little barrier like we do. That way you don't forget the earring and paint over it. So basically I just made a circle within the circle, right? And then I can paint freely within that circle. Just kind of moving that paint around. All right. All right. So right here, we're going to take a 5-minute break. I'm going to do a timer for 5 minutes. Stretch your legs, do whatever you need to do. And we're going to get started in 5 minutes. All right, y'all, we got about 2 more minutes left in our break and we'll be back. All right, y'all, we're going to get back to it. See how that gold looks up against the light? My lighting is probably a little bit off, but it's like how it looks when it's in the light. All right, we're going to get started. Now, we're going to do the inside of the Saints sign in that gold color. You want to use, let me see, I'm going to decide, I can't remember if I used my medium brush here. I did. All right, so we're going to use your medium size brush here. And I always like to do an outline first. I'm just a big outline person, I guess. So you can hold your medium-sized brush at an angle and start within that line that's already been drawn for you. So you hold it sideways and kind of make like this diamond shape action you see here from me. Again, this goes on kind of translucent, but don't let that make you oversaturate. The major thing is it still white? If you still have white canvas, then yeah, you want to apply more paint. Not now, but when it dries. Caking it on while it's wet doesn't help. So that's why you just kind of do your first layer first. But if you're in the middle of your strokes and you notice actual canvas that you missed, that's different. You definitely want to make sure that you are covering your canvas area that you're on with paint. So it's just a balance between not oversaturating it, but making sure you're actually painting it when you're dealing with colors that are kind of translucent at first. So I'm using my medium-sized paint and I'm using my lines that have already been made for me. I'm not tracing those lines. I'm painting within those lines, if that makes sense. Say that you want it. Okay. And we're able to use a bigger brush in this area just because it's a more translucent color. And we have these bold lines already drawn for us. And even if we paint over them just a little, the color is so translucent, it won't harm anything, especially because we're going to paint this next area black. So at the end of your photo, you always have your painting, you always have a chance to come back and, fill in and do little quirks that you want it to do. So no worries there. And you want to take your time in this area also because you do have like sharp curves and points that you're painting on. So, now I'm just pretty much smoothing out the paint that I already have in here. I kind of put two. And it doesn't take this color a long time. So if you've gone over it once, it's okay to go ahead and do a light coat second. Any other color, I would say totally wait, but it's okay to do your second coat now. Go ahead and do your second coat now. But make sure you've gone all the way through and painted it at least once. That will give it a sufficient amount of time to dry for your second coat. Okay. All right. That's my medium brush with that. All right. So now we're going to go back and paint our Afro pick. What color do I want mine to be? I think I'm going to do a red Afro pick. Again, feel free to use whatever colors tickle your fancy. I think I'm going to do a red one. Okay. Again, you'll see me kind of using my pinky. Well, you can't see it from up there. Can you see my pinky? No. Kind of using my pinky as a kickstand, but hold on. Okay, so this is another trick that I use, especially when I'm trying to get to a specific portion of the painting that's kind of far away from my like normal gate. I turn my paintings upside down. It makes it more comfortable sometimes depending on the design. And in this case, it's the perfect chance to do that. So I don't have to reach up and across that wet area. So you can go ahead and just turn your painting upside down when you're ready for your Afro pick. And just like we used our small brush to create our hair color lines, we're going to use the small brush to make our Afro pick lines. So just as simple as you see. Here we go. Here we go. And as you see, no one's going to come and get you if these lines aren't super perfect. When you're looking at the painting as a whole, that doesn't even, immediately stand out. So no worries there. So you're going to go in between your hair lines we made earlier and make our pick lines. I'm using my pinky kickstand, as you see me, I talk about all the time. If your canvas is made a little bit different where it doesn't have like this in front of it, I mean, you can always just kind of rest it on the painting or not rest it at all. You can kind of rest it here, straight up on the side. These are all little techniques that I use, but if you feel comfortable, you don't have to do this, or you can lay it flat if you ever feel uncomfortable. Whenever I feel uncomfortable as far as my posture, I usually adjust myself. So if you feel comfortable and fine, you're fine. All right. So I just want to pause right here. You literally just took your smallest brush and made those lines. Okay? And actually my stand is a little shaky. Hold on. There we go. That's probably why I felt that way too. All right, so I'm gonna continue with my same small brush and paint the rest of my pick. And just by habit, I always do an outline on the inner portion. It's just a habit. I find that it's just so much easier to paint and you have so much more accuracy when you do it that way. So, making me a little outline. Oh, here we go. And now I can kind of, my movements are a little more free because I have a good outline there and I can see my hair. I can see the Afro pick. I know what kind of the start, stop, slow down, speed up. Okay. And then just like any other spot, you can just smooth it out. Smooth it out. Like a little hourglass shape there. All right. So we can flip that back over. Be careful not to touch that particular part. And we turn our small brush. All right. Now we are going to move back to our saints sign. So we're going to clean that brush really, really good because we just got to using it for the red here. So we're going to dip it, swirl it around, dip it, take it out like we should have been doing, and literally wipe until you see the red go away, or whatever color you're using and switching over to. Just make sure that you're doing that. Now we're going to actually switch to a smaller brush and do black here. So your smallest brush you want to do in black here. Okay. With this motion, and I may even, let me see. Do I want to turn mine upside down for this? No, it throws off my gate. All right. But in these smaller areas, because as we progress into the picture, we're getting into smaller areas. The main thing is just to relax. Again, you already have the lines for you. So it's not as if you have to draw this from instruction. It's already drawn. So just keep that in mind, and keep in mind that you're going to be holding your paintbrush as you would say like a color pencil or a pen. That gives you a lot of comfort in your hand so you don't feel nervous in these smaller areas, okay? So we have our small brush, we have our black paint, And we're just going to get started. We're going to start at that tip and do one stroke down, go back up to the tip, and another stroke down. So this is a part of the painting where you're really going to take your time. If you notice in certain parts of your painting, it may be more of a free, kind of more swift paint. But this is one of those areas where you should be taking your time and actually slowing down. Remember, you are painting right now within those lines. You're not trying to trace those existing lines. For now, you're just painting within them. And then later, at the end, if you say, oh, I want to kind of like fill this in, if you feel comfortable, you can do it. If not, you can leave it exactly how it is and it will still look great. Make sure you're painting inside of the lines that are already drawn for you. Okay. Same practice, kind of spread your paint out. Come over here. I'm using the back side of my brush. I sometimes forget to use the back side of my brush, so use the back side. Okay, I'm literally painting inside of the line. Gonna use that so that I hear my baby crying. And then as you get into some of these curves, again, you just want to make sure you're taking your time in these smaller areas. Okay. So I'm still within the lines. I'm going from one side to the other, making sure I'm spreading my paint out evenly. Right. Okay. And you should have plenty of space. If we end up touching those written drawn lines, it shouldn't matter because these are really thick lines. So and just make sure you're steady adding your paint as needed and spreading it out and using both sides of your brush like so. Okay, I'm turning my brush upside down so I can get this point in the sipping paint symbol. I mean, not sipping paint, the Saints symbol. Okay, and I'm kind of flipping my brush up or down as needed to get these sharp corners. Okay. These curves are kind of tricky, so I would just say maybe start at the very top. All right, and these curves, just want to take it easy. As long as you're focusing within the lines, you're good to go. Don't try to focus on repainting over the drawn lines. Just focus strictly on being inside the line. All right, so when you finish this portion of the saint symbol, we're going to come back and do some highlighting later, then it should look like this. Okay. And then we're going to keep that small brush, but you want to go ahead and dip it and wipe it dry and clean. All right. I am going to do a, let's see. I'm going to do a, I think I'm going to do a black and gold or black and yellow shirt. Yeah, I'm going to do black and yellow shirt. Or, I think I'm going to do red and black. I'm going to do a red and black shirt. So, with your small brush, I'm going to go ahead and start on your shirt. So, being mindful about this wet area, this is an opportunity where I'm going to flip it. Okay, so because we're getting more, we kind of start on the outside of the painting and go inward. So it's going to be inevitable that some portion may be wet that you're close by, as whereas before we could kind of spread it out, paint on this side, paint on this side, they're closer. So since this part would be right in the way of us trying to paint our shirt, let's switch our canvases upside down for this. Okay. So as we do all the time, we start out with our little neat outline just to kind of help us remember where we're painting. Now I probably could have dried my brush a little bit better because I can see it's a little bit watery, but I think it'll be fine. Right. So this is another space where you just want to kind of take your time. See how I'm just not painting over the drawn line, I'm painting inside of it. So whatever color shirt you're doing, don't worry about the line that's drawn. You're always painting inside the lines. Okay, so we do this as we talked about because it helps us with our strokes once we outline. You can paint way more freely when you do this for yourself. And it helps your paintings come out how you want them to. So here I am, taking my time, not rushing, and painting inside the line that was given. That way if I paint over it a little bit, it's not that bad because I'm just already on the outside of it. Okay. Still. My grandbabies are, if I was on the sipping paint, they would be knocked out or something. They are active and vocal. All right. And I'm taking my small brush now that I have my outline, and I'm just going left to right. I'm not in a rush. I'm just taking my time. Spread my paint out. And I have my outline, so I shouldn't be all over the place, right? I'm doing left to right, not right to left, just because I just felt that was real uncomfortable just now trying to switch my brush, and it felt like I was going to go out the line. So let's just keep this to a left and right motion, okay? Left to right. Use my other side of my brush. And y'all, make sure y'all are taking pictures. If you're on Instagram, tag me on Instagram, Gwen's Girls Design, so I can post you guys. And you can feel free to post me, follow me, I'll follow you. Because we don't just do sipping paints, we have party decorations, home decor, a lot of fun stuff. The winter is when we do a lot of our sipping paint. All right, so let's pause here. We want to make sure we're being very aware of what we're painting. Okay, so this right here, what we just painted, that's the sleeve of her arm. And then this is a cuff. And then her shoulders have some cute little cuff designs on them too. All right. So this is her skin. This is her shoulder. This is her neck. This is her arm, face. So I didn't want anybody to get kind of confused. There is also a little tiny gap between the saint sign and the sleeve of the shirt. We'll come back and just do like a little dab of background paint there later. Don't worry about that. For right now, though, I just wanted to make sure that, we're not getting paint crazy and, painting stuff that shouldn't be painted. So right now, we just did the sleeve. All right. On her. Okay. Yeah. So if you wanted to do like the sleeve a color and then the cuffs and the buttons different colors, that's totally up to you. This is the major thing, is just making sure we're following the same technique. We don't have to have the same color. But for my cuffs, the cuffs are going to be the same color as the shirt. It would have been cute, now that I think about it, to do a different color cuff, but this will be cute too. All right. Now when you get close to this button, you're going to potentially paint over it just a little bit. That's fine, because it's literally just a dot. So if you paint over the button a little, that's okay. You're just going to make a little circle later to fill it back in. So no worries. Okay. Painting inside the cuff. Inside the cuff, inside the cuff. All right. And I'm just going left to right up until that button. Okay. Don't worry about, go ahead and do a good circle around it. You can always come back later and paint that. So I'm painting my first shoulder cuff. I guess that's what you call it. Shoulder cuff. And I'm painting around the little button there. But remember, if you paint over it, no biggie. You can always come back and just add a little circle for our button. Okay, that's the next cuff. And then the next cuff is here on her shoulder here. This is her actual shoulder, which will be brown, face brown, hand. But this is a cuff, this is the shoulder. So make sure that we're not forgetting this is literally just a rectangle. Okay. So like we always do, inside the line. Okay. Take our paint and do a circle. Okay. All right. So we just did the sleeve, the cuff, and the little cute shoulder cuffs. All right. While we are here, we may as well, while this area and above is still kind of drying, this is probably okay, but while this is kind of drying, let's go ahead and get that earring. You can make your earring whatever color you want. I think I'm actually going to make mine yellow. Let's make my yellow just a second. There we go. Lost and then found. Here. Okay, great. All right. So you just use your small brush, Should be clean in it, unless your shirt and your earring is the same color. If not, if you're switching colors, make sure you're dipping it and then you're wiping it clean dry. All right. So I said I was going to make my earring yellow. So make sure you're using your smallest brush. And I'm just doing a cute little half circle in those lines. Again, see how I'm painting into my black? It doesn't matter. Not, you cannot mess this up. Yep, there we go. There's my earring. I think I'm gonna go ahead and make the necklace yellow too. Just go ahead and color in your necklace. This is gonna be yellow. Mm-hmm. I'm gonna go ahead and do my bracelet. So the bracelet isn't, if you notice, it's not outlined in a Sharpie. Just because it's such a small space, a Sharpie would have looked like two black lines. So you should see a pencil drawing of your bracelet, kind of like this, and just make you two lines over it. We're going to come back later and define it a little bit more, but that's how we're going to color in our bracelet. All right, and we will take another 5-minute break. So set your timers for 5 minutes. We're going to come back, finish up, do our signature, and we'll be good to go. 5-minute break. All right, y'all, we have 1 more minute on our break and we'll be back. All right, let's get back started. Just myself. All right. All right. Let's go ahead and do our buttons. Whatever color you want your button to be. I'm gonna make mine black. So I'm literally just going here, kind of just dotting around in there until it's filled out. Same thing here. I'm just kind of like dotting around in here. Not real. Notice I'm not trying to like paint a circle because it's probably just gonna create a whole new circle and probably one I don't want. So I'm literally just kind of dotting the black around in this circle. Doing a little rubbing, but just kind of dotting it around. And there's no rush here. Just kind of take your time. Okay, kind of dotting around. And once you have it filled out, you can kind of do a little kind of paint in the circle. But I noticed if you try to go in and kind of like paint in a circle there, it just ends up making it bigger than what you wanted. So just kind of dot around in there first. There we go. All right. And whatever your background color is, there is this little intentional space here. Just go ahead and fill that in with your smallest brush. Make sure you're cleaning that very well. And it's literally kind of how I was dotting the buttons. It's literally just kind of like a little dot. You don't put a lot of effort into it. It's kind of like a little dot. Just to, so it's just not this little white opening. It was just kind of drawn that way. Looking back, probably it's not the best way to draw it. But just you do your little dot, no big deal, right? Go ahead and clean that um, small brush, and we're going to get into our complexion. Just a second. Let me write that down. All right, so your complexion color is going to be the brown color. My brown is some color that we're going to just go with for right now. To get a chance to mix it like I did yours, but I'm going to go with it. All right. So with your smallest brush, I'm going to make sure I do turn it this way for you guys. So with your smallest brush, you want to start in the crux of your hair up here. This is a good time to kind of use your pinky as a kickstand, as I say. But you're really going to do what we've always done when we first start painting. You're almost kind of creating an outline. One thing, a mistake that I just made, you don't want a lot of paint in this area in general. So if you notice you have, like a lot of paint, kind of rub it off like I just did. But you're just going to keep in mind how we've been doing with everything else. Just follow that hairline. Be mindful of the little edge of your eyebrow here. And this is a space where, we're going to slow down because the smaller the area, the more you want to kind of take your time on it. Okay. So again, I've kind of come from here to here, but I'm gonna go under the lip above the chin and then go up. Remember, a comfortable way to hold your brush, in addition to, like, if the kickstand doesn't work, is just kind of think of it as a color pencil. Okay, so I'm going to turn this my way where I can paint at my angle, but that's what we're doing basically. I'm going to corner myself a little bit. Is following the line that's already there with as less paint as possible, with still covering everything. So when you come down here and you get to that eyebrow, because that's an eyebrow, you want to go around it. Okay, so see what we did there? I'll start over. You go into the crux of the hair and follow it with your smallest brown brush. And then when I got about right here, it felt more comfortable to go under the chin, right before the hand, the palm, and then come up and meet myself there. Now I came to the top again, and I followed my hairline, taking my time, to the top of that left eyebrow, and I'm going to go around it. Remember, we make our outlines because it helps us gauge where we're painting, right? So when you go under the eyebrow, you're above that left eye. So while you're there, it's a small space. You can go ahead and just color that in. Okay? And then you're going to go, she has her one eye open and one eye closed. So it's just kind of like a little cute swervy line. So again, we're not tracing what's already there, right? So we're not tracing what's already there, which is her eyes closed, black. We came under the eyebrow, which we'll go back later and do. So we did our little motion here, keeping the line we have, and then we went underneath it. Okay? So again, the drawing's done for you, you're painting. Okay? All right, so let's finish our outline like we always do when we get to a new section. So I stopped here. I'm going to follow the hairline up to above the hand. She has her hand in a fist. To above the hand and then around the hand. Okay? And then, in right here in front of the palm. Okay? So just like some of our other spaces, sorry about that. So just like our other spaces, before we painted the area, that's exactly what we literally just did. We made an outline following the inside of her hair, above her chin, below her lips, and then slowly, like above her fist, palm, beneath her eye, in between her eye and her eyebrow, and around. Okay? So I'm going to wait. I'm going to give it like 2 minutes. I want everybody to just take their time in this area and follow the outline you see there. Once you do that, pause there, because I just want to make sure if you're not close to this part, you're at least able to look up and kind of understand the instruction for when you do get to this part. So I'm going to give it about 60 seconds or so, because I want to make sure everybody has a chance to hear and see the instruction for how to outline the face. And if you notice, the only reason I went between the eyebrow and the eye here is because we were still following our hair line, right? So we couldn't go through it, so we had to kind of go around it. I didn't do the same on the eye and eyebrow over here because we're not to that point yet of painting the inside of the face. We're only doing the outline. So that's the only reason why I did go between the brow and the eye on this side. All right. So now that we've done that, we're going to actually do we're going to paint the inside of the nose. This is actually my favorite part of this painting is the nose. I just thought it was so cute. It's almost kind of like a wiggly W almost, but it kind of deserves its own kind of like painting, because once we paint the inside of the nose, everything else is going to be like really smooth strokes. So I like to get the inside of that nose first, so that when we start, doing our left to right, we kind of already take care of it. So what you want to do, probably have enough paint on your brush already. But go ahead and paint the inside of that nose. So you're literally following what's been drawn, right? So the nose has already been drawn, and just that quickly, I did a little outline, if you would, on the inside of that nose by following what's already there. Okay. All right. So now we're just going to go ahead and start painting in the white parts like we do on all our other sections. So from left to right, you can dip some more paint now. So from left to right, we're going to kind of blend and kind of look at this almost like kind of putting on makeup or foundation. We're going to kind of blend our outline with our left to right strokes. Okay? So we just outlined it, did our left to right strokes. And so we're doing a left to right stroke from this eyebrow to the outside of that one. I'm flipping over and I'm using the other side of my brush, because remember, both sides of your brush do have paint. So now I'm just going left to right. Now when I've gotten to this part, now I can go between this eyebrow and this eye. I can do that now because it's literally my next left to right motion. Okay. All right. So my next left to right motion is between the two eyes. Here again. All right. All right. So we're still just doing on the face our straight left to right motions, blending in what we've already painted on our outline, as well as in the inside of our cutely shaped nose. So and you're doing little bitty strokes here between this nose and this eye, little small strokes. Okay, so you can literally kind of outline the eye. Okay, and then start over from my left to right strokes again. So you're right here on the cheek, come straight across. You don't paint over your nose because it's already there, right? So you just bring that stroke between the eye and the nose, under the other eye, and you just came from left to right. That's your whole motion from left to right. I have a little white space here I'm going to cover, right? So another left to right. Starting at this cheek, I'm going to stop at my nose. Kind of do now that we colored the inside of the nose, this is a good time to kind of do an outline for the outside. It's already drawn. You're just following it, okay? So I just did the same thing we did above it on below it, okay? So your next left to right is going to be super easy. It's just these little white spots here. Still going left to right, above the lip and down. And even if you are painting over these black lines, that's the purpose of these black lines. They're very thick. So even if you paint over them, you'll still be able to see them. And when we come back and do our final highlights and touches, you can always fill in anything that you've painted over in here as well. But just continue with your left to right. So I'm over here on this cheek, filling in the white here, flipping my brush over. So we have paint on both sides, right? All right. And then I'm going to do the same thing. The outline is what saves the day. So I'm going to take my small brush and I'm going to do an outline of the lips in my color. Okay. So that way I don't have to draw. All I have to do is paint. And now I'm filling in the white spaces here. A little more white here. I'll smooth that out shortly. Okay. So now, same thing. Let's go ahead and do the neck. We're going to follow the line over here that's already there for us. Okay. We're going to paint above the necklace with the line that's already gave to us. So we're doing our infamous outline, right? This time we're outlining the neck. All right. And then when it comes over here to the bangles, just go ahead and paint between those. So go ahead, while you have the complexion paint, go ahead and paint your complexion for your wrist there between those now. And we're going to come back and define those bracelets, but you go ahead and do your complexion paint between your bangles that you painted earlier. So you should see yellow bangle, complexion, yellow bangle, complexion. All right. So let's do the rest of our outline for our neck. Follow what's there. Okay. Follow what's already there. And do our left to right, just like we did on our face. Left to right. Left to right. Left to right. Left to right. Now you don't want to go back and do a second coat of complexion paint. You want to let this completely dry and then we'll just kind of polish where we feel like we may need to. But normally once you come in and do your brows and your lashes and your lip color, you seldomly have to do another coat of complexion. Okay. All right, so let's get that fist. So I'm going to actually turn this toward me. Let's go ahead and get our fist done. Let's outline our fist just like we do everything else. It's just a good practice. Just a good practice. And it just makes it super easy to paint. You don't have to worry about being an artist and drawing it. You can just have fun and paint. Okay. So I kind of did a twofer here. I was outlining while also filling in the paint. So, because by this time you start getting a little more comfortable. So, it gets a little more comfortable. So, here I am with our shoulder, and I'm following our line, right? All right, following what's there. And I'm going to make us a little box for our shoulder and paint inside. You can do the same. And our shoulder is there. All right. Let's go over here to the other shoulder, make our outline. It's all about the outline. Okay. All about the outline. All right. And then we do our from top to bottom stroke. Okay. And we just kind of blend in any extra color if you have it. All right. And then we're going to do this inner neck area above the saint sign. So again, make our little outline. Our outline. side of it. It's from top right to bottom left stroke. Get it done. All right, so let's clean that small brush because we're about to use it down here on our saint sign. All right, so take a look at this one. So if just kind of pull it right here. So what we're going to do is highlight lines. So if you see like the saint sign we have now, it's just these two colors, but we're just going to do a straight line here, you know, like a highlight line here and there. So I'm going to show you how to do that right now, but I just want to show you what the finished product looks like after you've done it. The highlight lines. All right. So you're going to get your smallest brush and your white paint. So grab your white paint. This may be your first time using it tonight based on what you may have been painting. All right. So we're literally going to start in the middle of here down. So if you want to watch me do it first, that's fine. But you're literally just making a line here. Nothing special. You're actually just following the curve of how it's drawn. Let me get this off my brush. Okay. So I'm starting up here at the tip and I'm just making a straight line come down. All right. You got a little faint down here at the bottom. So I'm going to make it because you want it all to look even. And that's literally a highlight line. Okay. So same thing here. You want to go the bottom half of this kind of curve here. Just kind of start here and do that. So again, you're just basically following what's already there. We're going to do the same thing here in this little curve. I'm going to go right here. And we're just following the curve. We're not creating anything new. Okay. All right. Let's see. We're going to do the same thing about this portion of the curve. We're just going to take our white paint and we're going to follow what's there. There's no wrong way to do this. Okay. All right. And then we're going to do one more. We'll do two more highlight lines. So let's do a line here on this point, which is just a straight line. So I went to the bottom of the saint signs and drew a straight line up. Okay. And then a little curve here. That's our last little highlight line we'll do. All right. So we did one straight line here, curve, curve, line, curve. I have a little excess paint here, so I'm going to sop that up. All right. We're almost there. We're going to do one of my favorite parts that I love on paintings, which is kind of weird, but I love doing the lashes when I have female drawings. I love doing the lashes at the end. So we'll get there. I just wanted to mention that's one of my favorite parts. All right. So while we're waiting on this white over here to dry, we're going to go ahead and do our signatures here. I usually do my first initial, last initial, and then whatever year it is. So I'll do like my signature and then like up, what is it? -22 or something like that. But you can sign it however you like to. But I sign mine. I'll do my signature. And then kind of like that. 22. Can't believe this year is almost over. So go ahead and while we wait for some of this to kind of dry, go ahead and do your signature. And we're almost done. Kind of feel like I want to turn this. I do. All right. So once you've done your signature, I want you to turn your canvas upside down because we have things that are drying on this side. So let's go ahead and flip our canvas upside down to do our brows. And we're not going to do the lashes upside down, but we'll do the brows and lipstick upside down. So with your smallest brush, get if your brows are going to be black, I don't know, maybe you have something else planned, but if they're going to be black, go ahead and do those in this upside down position. All right, and I'll do this, and I'm gonna fill in that line. There we go. I went ahead and fill in my brows, and then you don't have to do this step of this additional piece of the brow. It's already drawn for you, but I always like to just add definition to my brows and lashes. It's just a weird thing I do. Also, I painted over my closed eye a little bit. Again, I'm just a perfectionist. Most people would never notice, and you don't have to do that. But if you see me doing something where you say, okay, that seems like a little bit much, I don't know if I want to like do that on the face especially, that's fine. But I literally just took my small brush and I just painted over what was already there initially. I just got maybe a little bit of brown paint on it, so I just kind of went back over it. And when you're doing this, just kind of hold it and think about like if you were doing like your eyeliner or something like that, um, because it just kind of helps, right? Also, let's go ahead and draw some black lines around our bangles while we're here. So below your bangle, you can kind of do something like this. And kind of almost like a little double decker. You don't have to add that piece, but I do. All right. I'm also going to kind of put some definition back into my fist. So if you're up for like an additional challenge, you can kind of come over here and kind of add some of the definition to some of the lines. When I was saying earlier, when we get to the end of the painting, you can always come back and do little doodads. This is your time to do that. So your doodads may be something else, but I'm just explaining to you kind of like what I'm doing here at the end. So like my black line around my necklace, I'm kind of bringing the black lines back that I might have slightly painted over there. Okay, and then let's dip that small brush, clean it really good. And then whatever lip color you're gonna use, let's go ahead and paint that. Now, you may notice that your lip has like a little peak at the top. It's actually supposed to be like a crooked lip, you know, when you have like your hand resting on your face and your lips are kind of crooked. It's supposed to be like that. So don't feel like the need to kind of correct that. It's, you know, it's kind of like a little sideway lip. Now, for the lip, it's a very small area, so you don't need a ton of paint. You know, just a small amount of paint and just kind of go from left to right, literally in 2 strokes. You will have that covered. And what we'll do is once that dries, we'll come through and kind of do like a little black line between it. So it's like 2 lips. Or you can leave it like this. I have painted this before where I just left the lips that way. And I have some paintings like this one where I came back later and put like a little black line between there. So it's really about your comfort level when it comes down to these few steps that I'm doing. Your comfort level. All right, so we went ahead and filled in our lip color. Okay, and let's flip us back over. All right. So now let's go ahead and clean that small brush and grab your black. We're going to go ahead and color in her eye. Now, another thing with how the eyes are drawn, don't get too captured into like which part is the pupil and which part is the eyeball and which part is the white. You'll notice like once you fill in the middle, just like make a circle in the middle of your eye, like so. It starts to be like super easy to fill in the rest. So kind of like she has like a big kind of doe baby doll eye. So, you know, your eyeball may be kind of big like this. All right. And so what you can do here too is kind of outline the eye again. Think of that as kind of like putting on my, you know, your eyeliner. Okay. All right. So that's kind of more defined. And it doesn't matter if it's just a little white. You can tell it's an eyeball. So it's fine. All right, so now my favorite part, which is like the lashes. So you just go to the top corner of that eye, and just do kind of upward motion. I'm gonna do like kind of side lashes, and I'm gonna do bottom lashes for her too. I made her eye especially wide. Right? So actually, I'm gonna do lashes all the way around. I may have put a little bit more black than I needed to on this brow over here, but that's okay. No mistakes in art, right? All right, still doable. All right. And again, just for an additional challenge, if you want to come through. Now, this particular one, I'm not going to draw a line because I made her lips very narrow when I do this one. So I'm almost scared if I come through and draw a line in between there, it may be a bit too much on her. So I'm actually not going to do that. All right. So I think we are actually done. I think, again, for those of you who are up for additional challenge, you can kind of come here and redefine your chin line, kind of redefine your nose a little. This is not required. This is just me being extra. But I'm going to even outline my lips again in black. It just makes everything pop even more. Oh, and I'm also going to do a little mole. I always do a little mole too. Do a little face mole, little shoulder mole. And that is it, everybody. That is the end of the sip and paint. I hope you guys enjoyed yourself. Please follow me on Instagram, DM me, tag me, and I will be so happy to hear your feedback on tonight's painting. Thank you to Charles in 12 Lounge. And I hope you guys have a great and safe evening. Make sure that you have your cocktails and your food before you go. Thanks. Oh, also, guys, please return your paint brushes and your paint supplies to the bins. There should be bins there that says use paint supplies. Put those there. You're free to, of course, take your painting with you. A good idea is to put it on the dashboard of your car on the way home because it can dry really well up there and it won't kind of be like thrown or tossed around the car. So if you put it on the dashboard of your car on the way home, it's a really good spot to keep it. Go ahead and leave the canvases there. The team at 12 Lounge will collect those for us. So thank you for your support. I look forward to hearing from you and seeing your pictures. Thanks, everybody. I'm going to leave the live up for whoever may be slightly behind or who may came late, maybe need to rewind it. So I won't end it just yet because if I end it, it'll start processing for me to post it. But I'm going to put myself on mute. Yep. And that is it. Thanks, everybody. Okay, so if you are still needing to utilize, excuse me, to utilize the live, could you comment in the chat? Okay, looks like nobody is on. Okay, I'm gonna go ahead and end it. Let's see.